and welcome to the podcast where friends discuss environmental policies from around the planet.
Hey guys, we are back with another extra break policy. I'm Ajwa and I'm joined here with Ala.
Hey.
How you doing, girl?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, living it up. Still on a break, just a reminder to you guys, but we are loyal to our listeners.
Yeah.
So here we are with another one. And this week we are going to be probing into China's environmental policies, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So we all know China and its big economic boom that has been happening since the 1990s. And they have actually managed to keep up with a double-digit development rate. But in 2015, China actually finally listened to all of the uproar that had been happening about environmental issues. And while China actually faces a lot of bullshit, I would say, or like backtalk regarding being the leading carbon emitter, it is actually also pushing to curbing the issue. And one of the ways that they're talking about how to do it is that they're introducing a new normal, which is that they acknowledge their role in pushing for the economic boom that they faced. But now they're trying to bring their development rate under 8%, moving away from the double-digit one. And this is going to help them crack down into what these firms or these companies that from all over the world are just moving to China because of better production rates as well. But China's crackdown, interestingly, actually, is paying little to no heed to the political or economical hierarchies to these big companies. And it is, personally, I think it's great because a lot of these big countries, a lot of developed countries as well, will play a lot into this bureaucracy mess, which is that, cut taxes on the billion-dollar companies, but let's make the middle class suffer.
Girl, that's what you get when, I hate to say it. But the thing is, it's kind of, easier for China to do that because China can be like, even though this is a big misconception because China is actually, I know people think China is totally communist, but economically it's not very communist. At least not in the way that like Marx or Lenin intended, or in the way communist is like modern communism is defined. So economically there is a little bit more capitalism, but there's still a lot of state influence, and Xi Jinping do not play. I do not like that man, but he do not play.
Yeah, but I think because of the dictatorship kind of setup that they have, this is sort of helping in this situation, right? Because they don't care where you're coming from. They don't care who you are. They're like, you play by our rules or you don't play. It's very simple.
Exactly.
So China actually updated their environmental protection law in 2015 after they declared a war on pollution the previous year, which was 2014, and this was essentially the country's first major reform of its environmental policies in more than 2 decades. I know it's crazy, but yeah. And this new law, what they did was just introduce stricter punishments, and it also, one of the biggest things that I thought personally was great even for China, is that they allowed NGOs to actually file environmental lawsuits against companies or firms that were violating in the name of public, to just tell people that we care about you, just general public interest.
Yeah, and also I think that it should be worth noting that for a long time, and even now, so there were not a lot of, if you go to most countries, when we do the show and we do research and we're looking up environmental organizations, most of them are going to be non-governmental, right? But in China, a lot of them are run by the government, but more and more non-governmental organizations are popping up in China, and it's because of these changes that they saw in 2014. Not to mention, girl, you know me, I love to hear about, God forgive me, but I love to hear about big companies getting what's coming to them. In 2013, China arrested 200 people for 200 people as far as like companies were concerned, and more than 3,500 companies and workshops were shut down for environmental violations. And in 2014, like you were talking about that big boom, 3,400 companies and 3,700 construction sites were found to have violated laws. Like they had all these inspections going on. Yeah. And so they shut down 3,100 workshops following those inspections, and more than 8,400 people were arrested.
Oh, wow. Consequences.
Yeah, we love to see them. Like, if you don't want to, imagine they did the inspections and you still don't want to do what you need to do. Okay, man, they're coming for you. They're shutting you down.
Yeah, no, honestly, they are actually, like, their crackdown is actually a real crackdown, not unlike a lot of these developed countries. We even see them saying, oh, we're going to do it, and just like secretly have pipelines running. But yeah, it's personally, I want to give a lot of props to China for this. You know, like they are even working to revise like other legislations, right? So they have this new, like they're trying to introduce the law on the prevention and treatment of air pollution, and the same law on the prevention and treatment of water pollution.
That's pretty cool.
And yeah, like in 2017, June 2017, they actually made their, which is really funny to me, they made their second amendment to the Water Pollution Prevention Act. Guess when their first Prevention Act came out?
When?
1996.
Interesting.
So 21 years later, they're like, you know what we should do? We should change that.
We should definitely work on that.
Yeah, but to give them credit, they're actually, like you said, they're actually making a breakthrough. They're doing a lot of crackdown on this. And the amendment that they introduced in 2017, it was supposed to increase the punishment that they were going to put for water pollution, and the penalty, which was going to go up to 1 million yuan. I don't know if they've increased that since then. And it's also supposed to like further strengthen the local governments, giving them more power, and eventually refine and improve the drinking water safety protection system.
And you know what this reminds me of? Like the feeling around China, like around this time, or at least in the last, I want to say 5 years, if I was alive then, and I'm not. And you know, reading about this, it reminds me of when I would read about like the Clean Water Act and all the craziness here in America and the upheaval that caused when it first came out. And again, when Bush Sr. Revised it. So I guess, reform sometimes comes with a lot of upheaval. In fact, in 2017, they arrested 259 people for smuggling more than 300,000 tons of waste into the country.
Man, China just be like going all out. I love it.
Yeah, and it's not just companies, because in 2015, the Ministry of Environmental Protection reported 7 cases of falsification of air quality data, and 5 Chinese officials were arrested because, get this, they were stuffing cotton gauze into air monitoring equipment to falsify results. Yeah, and those officials got arrested.
I'm so glad that they did that. Honestly, one of the things that I do actually really like about China, they actually also gave repercussions to people who were from the party itself. Like, they summoned them to explain themselves. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, great. You're actually, democracy.
Yeah.
Never thought I'd say that about China, but here we are.
Girl, bye.
But also in January 2019, the Chinese government also came up with the Soil Pollution and Prevention and Control Law, which was the first comprehensive framework law that China had that would address soil pollution. And it now would require the responsible person to implement risk control and remediation measures so that they can pay costs associated with investigating, remediating, managing soil contamination. So if you fucked up, they caught you, whatever they're going to do for your fuck up, you're going to have to pay. It's like suing someone and losing the case.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I absolutely love that.
Same. And honestly, like, I know I didn't say they did anything in 2016 because you guys, I feel like those 43,000 almost people they arrested had them pretty fucking busy. Like, they were busy. They were booked and busy.
Fun fact, China is not just doing it like in national or like local initiatives. They are also, which I know most of you won't believe it, trust me, I did when I read it. So the Ministry of Ecology and Environment are collaborating with EPA, with the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and so that they can actually strengthen their response to cross-border environmental and public health challenges.
Yeah.
And also to try to like tell the global and international world and international businesses that they need to shift their operations rather quickly because China ain't playing.
They are not playing at all. And yeah, in fact, they're so serious that in 2018, I have never heard of such craziness. They prosecuted 42,195 people for a range of environmental offenses such as illegal deforestation, land occupation, as well as unlawful mining and fishing activities. And they arrested 15,095 people for environmental crimes, which was up 51.5% from 2017. Like, I thought 2017 was pretty much, and then they were like, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, they're not trying to flatten the curve. I will tell you that.
For real. Another thing I'm going to give them props with is dealing with imports. So a lot of Asian countries like Malaysia, Singapore, and China have also dealt with the failure of the Basel Convention, like the African nations we talked about in the last Extra Policy episode. However, China, they have this national sword policy, which they started in 2018, and they banned the imports of a lot of these products from other countries, which they had handled nearly half of the world's recyclable waste for the past quarter century. And although quite a bit of it was plastic waste, most of it was electronic waste, actually. So not only did they cut that down by 47% from 2010 to 2019, but they're planning to be down to zero imports of any solid waste by 2022. So we'll see how they do, but like they are like just barreling down. So this is just another example of how they're cracking down, not just within the country or within officials or companies, but like within their like through their borders as well.
Yeah, I'm really impressed.
And I think it's important for us to note that things like this are possible when you have economic power. Because the e-waste that they currently have is approximately worth $23.8 billion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
And like everybody's always talking about the fact that China is an economic force now. They're an economic force. They can do things like this. You know what I'm saying? So like Audra pointed out, there are more and more non-governmental environmental organizations in China coming up, even though there weren't before. And one that I want to point out is the Sustainable Global Environmental Institute. They are trying to solve environmental problems through market mechanisms and policy recommendations. And so they're trying to balance really environment and economy. So it's worth checking out if you're interested in learning about that sort of thing.
Yeah, like that's actually a really big, I think, conversation to be had. That is this a potential roadmap for developing nations?
Right.
But speaking of, do you guys think that economic growth actually precedes environmental change, or do you think that they can happen at the same time regardless? Please do let us know.
Yeah. I'm actually curious. You know what? That's a great question to think about. I wonder about that myself. So this is the last Extra Policy episode of our break. And so Series 2 will be out June 14th. Over the break, we took time to regroup as, unfortunately, Abba will not be joining us moving forward due to personal commitments, and we'll definitely miss her. It's kind of sad. However, we have put together some exciting topics and some changes to our format are coming.
I'm so excited.
Samesies. So stay tuned for that. Follow us on Twitter at Planet Policy Pal, Instagram at Planet Policy Pals, and like our Facebook page. We are still on break till the 14th, like we said, but if you message us or leave a comment, we will respond. Join us again next time, and until then, keep learning, pals.